God's chosen ones. 3 signs. God is quietly removing someone from your life. When God starts quietly removing them, she didn't see it coming. Not really. The way their conversation started to fade. The way "I'll call you later" turned into silence. The way peace left the room before they did. She tried to fix it, tried to pray harder, love louder, stay longer. But something in her spirit wouldn't settle. She wasn't angry, just empty. And no matter how much she poured in, it never felt full. She sat on the edge of her bed one night, clutching her phone like it held answers. But there were no messages, no missed calls, just stillness. And suddenly, she heard it, not with her ears, with her soul. Let them go. This is me, not punishment, protection. Not rejection, redirection. Because sometimes God doesn't slam the door. He just makes it too quiet to ignore. So if someone's slipping away and you don't know why, maybe it's not meant to make sense. Maybe it's time. Type 7 if this has been happening to you. This isn't abandonment. This is alignment. And what's leaving isn't your loss. It's the proof of what's about to arrive. There's a moment so quiet you almost miss it. When your soul starts stepping away before your feet do, you'll feel it first in the silence. Not the loud kind, but the kind that sits next to you at dinner and doesn't speak. The kind that turns conversations cold, even when the words are warm. You'll try to explain it. You'll tell yourself, maybe we're just busy. Maybe it's just a season. But chosen ones, your spirit knows before your logic catches up. God starts moving differently when you're entering a higher calling. And sometimes, He doesn't remove chaos with force. He removes comfort with quiet. Because the most painful truth is this: not everyone who walked with you is assigned to rise with you. And when you are chosen, elevation demands separation. This is what He did with Abraham. Abraham didn't argue when Lot left. He didn't fight to keep him. He trusted the distance. And then came the promise. If lately someone close feels strangely far, if the text thread's still open but the connection is gone, if your peace is whispering release but your heart's still holding on, this isn't you being cold. This is God calling you higher. The ache you feel is not rejection, it's redirection. And tonight, I want to show you what it looks like when heaven steps in. When God starts removing people not to hurt you, but to heal you. Let's talk about the 3 signs that someone is being gently, divinely removed. Not because you stopped loving them, but because your assignment can't afford what's not aligned. If you've been asking God for clarity, this is your answer. Stay with me. You're not letting go. You're being lifted. Part 1. When peace leaves first, God is speaking loudest. It didn't start with a fight. It started with a feeling, a subtle shift, a quiet ache, a conversation that felt heavy, even though nothing was said. You sat across from them, smiling politely, but inside, your spirit was restless. The kind of restlessness that doesn't scream. It suffocates. You left the conversation drained, confused, trying to figure out what changed. But peace had already left, and God had already spoken. Chosen one, God doesn't always speak in thunder. Sometimes He speaks through discomfort, and when you carry the calling of heaven, your spirit becomes His alarm system. Not for danger, but for misalignment. That person may not be toxic. They may not even be wrong. But your spirit keeps whispering, this doesn't feel right anymore. That's not just emotion. That's divine intuition. You don't laugh the way you used to. You don't feel safe around them anymore. You watch your words, hide your truth, shrink your joy just to keep things peaceful. But here's the revelation. If you have to lose yourself to keep the peace, you've already lost the presence. And where God's presence is missing, your peace will always echo the void. It's not your job to force the connection. It's your job to follow the clarity. You asked God to protect you. He answered with discomfort. You asked Him to show you who's for you. He answered with restlessness. And when peace leaves first, Don't chase the person, chase the presence. Soul reflection question. Who in your life used to bring peace, but now only brings pressure? Take a deep breath. You're not crazy. You're not overthinking. You're just hearing what your soul has been trying to say for weeks. This connection is complete, and the ache you feel isn't the enemy stealing. It's heaven separating. Type 444 if peace has been trying to lead you out quietly. You're not abandoning anyone. You're aligning with God. Part 2. When they start pulling you away from God, not pushing you toward Him. It didn't feel sinful. It felt subtle. A skipped devotion here, a prayer you meant to pray, but never did. A spiritual hunger that's now replaced with noise, notifications, and distraction. You didn't stop loving God, but you stopped hearing Him, because the voice of someone else got louder. Chosen one, the enemy won't always use storms. Sometimes he uses companionship. They don't curse God. They just never mention Him. They don't forbid you from worship, but they slowly numb your desire for it. You used to rise early to pray. Now, you rise early to please, to meet their needs, to explain yourself, to shrink your light, and you tell yourself it's love. But love never asks you to stop being who you are to feel safe being loved. If they don't feed your spirit, they'll eventually starve your purpose. This is how chosen ones lose time, not through failure, but through distraction disguised as connection. You started holding back your fire just to keep their comfort. You stopped talking about dreams that stirred your faith because they looked at you sideways. You changed your language, your tone, your boldness, just to stay close to someone God never sent. Here's the truth that hurts before it heals. Some people admire your light, but resent what it demands of them. And if you keep choosing connection over your consecration, you'll wake up one day far from the altar and wonder why heaven feels silent. But God isn't punishing you. He's protecting what He planted. He's not asking you to hate them. He's asking you to stop handing your oil to someone who never brought a jar. Are you growing in God or growing away from Him? Be honest. Because alignment isn't always about affection. It's about assignment. And if they weaken your worship, silence your spiritual hunger, or shame your fire, it's not love, it's interference. Type 777. If your spirit has been dimming to keep someone near, you weren't born to bend. You were born to burn. Part 3. When life keeps separating you. At first, it just felt like bad timing. A phone call you missed, a plan that fell through, a slow fade that no one wanted to name out loud. But the pattern kept repeating. Schedules wouldn't align. Misunderstandings piled up like bricks. You tried to reconnect. They didn't reply. You tried again and something always got in the way. It's not betrayal. It's not drama. It's not even personal. It's divine. Because when you're chosen, God doesn't always end relationships with explosions. Sometimes He ends them with interruptions. Not because the person is bad, but because your season with them has expired. And if He slammed the door, you'd question His goodness. So instead, He lets the string unravel slowly, gently, undeniably. He lets time stretch. He lets distance grow. He lets peace return. In their absence, you've prayed for clarity. This is it. Not all storms are loud. Some come in silence, in long pauses, in new jobs, in different cities, in new convictions that shift old chemistry. In your soul, no longer feeling home where it used to. You keep asking, God, why do I feel so disconnected? And heaven answers, because I'm displacing what no longer fits your future. Sometimes God separates before He elevates, because the next version of you, the anointed one, can't survive in the same space as the one who only loved your wounds. Soul reflection question. Are you trying to revive what God is gently letting die? Chosen one, you're not cursed. You're not being punished. You're being positioned. When life keeps separating you, it's not coincidence. It's God making room. Stop chasing what's retreating. Stop forcing what keeps failing. Stop calling what was divine forever when it was only meant for a chapter. Type 4444. If life has been pulling you apart from someone you love, not every separation is loss. Some are liberation dressed as delay. Part 4. Why letting go feels like betrayal, but it's actually obedience. You didn't want to walk away. You just wanted them to change, to understand, to meet you halfway. But every time you tried to hold on tighter, your spirit slipped further from peace. And now, you sit in the ache between what was and what can no longer be, and the guilt whispers, you gave up? You didn't try hard enough. Maybe you're the problem. But the truth, you didn't walk away to hurt them. You walked away to honor him. Because when you're chosen, obedience sometimes feels like betrayal. To everyone except God. You're not abandoning them. You're responding to a quiet instruction that no one else heard. That restlessness in your chest. That confusion in their presence. That aching misalignment you couldn't explain. It was the Spirit pulling you from familiar into faithful. And the grief you feel isn't disobedience. It's the cost of choosing God over comfort. Sometimes the hardest goodbyes are the ones that come without blame, just revelation. You thought staying was loyalty, but staying would have been delay. And now your hands feel empty, but heaven sees them as available. You didn't fail the connection. You finished it. And here's the sacred truth. The enemy never wanted you to realize. Letting go isn't quitting. It's graduating. Soul reflection question. Are you carrying guilt for obeying what only your spirit could see? Chosen one. You're not selfish. You're surrendered. And obedience will always cost you what comfort tried to protect. Letting go is not betrayal. It's bowing. And sometimes the most faithful thing you can do is walk away with clean hands and a soft heart. Type 7. If you've ever mourned someone who was never meant to stay, you didn't let go because you stopped loving. You let go because you finally started listening. Part 5. God removes before he releases the greater. It's quiet now. Their voice, gone. Their presence, faded. No messages, no closure. Just an open space that used to be filled by their name. And yet something's different. You're breathing deeper, sleeping better, smiling. Not because of them, but in spite of them. The ache is still there. But now, so is the peace. Because what your heart mourned as loss, your spirit is now recognizing as protection. God doesn't just remove to hurt. He removes to prepare, to make room, to clear space, to unclutter your soul for the blessing that was always too big to fit in the presence of misalignment. You prayed for clarity. You prayed for breakthrough. You asked for purpose, for partnership, for peace. And God said, then I have to subtract first, because you can't pour new wine into old wineskins, and you can't carry divine promotion with hands full of expired people. Before Abraham could see the promise, Lot had to leave. Before David could take the throne, Saul had to fall away. Before Ruth met Boaz, she had to release her past. Separation always precedes elevation, not as punishment, but as divine design. So if you've been empty, don't curse it. Bless it, because emptiness is the breeding ground of overflow. You thought he was breaking your heart, but he was stretching it for more peace, more purpose, more presence. And yes, more people, the right ones, the healed ones, the ones sent, not just seen. What if what you lost was never the point, but what it made room for was, this isn't your ending, it's your opening. And the silence left behind by their absence has become the sacred echo of what's on the way. Type 888 if you're ready to receive what their absence made room for, because what's coming won't ask you to shrink, suffer, or beg. It will feel like peace walking in the door. You didn't lose them. You found yourself.
Let's take a breath together.
You didn't expect the silence. You didn't want the distance. But deep down, you knew it was coming. Not because you were unworthy, but because you were awakening. They were part of the chapter, but they were never the end of the story. And if it felt like God was ripping them out of your life, it's because you wouldn't have released them on your own. He loves you too much to let you settle in something that was shrinking you. This isn't about abandonment. This is about alignment. This is what it looks like when heaven starts rearranging your relationships for your calling. So don't cling to what God has quietly walked away from. Don't grieve a connection He already called complete. The separation was never the punishment. It was the preparation, and what's ahead will not confuse you, will not drain you, will not ask you to betray your soul to feel seen. What's ahead will recognize you, honor you, match you. What if the greatest miracle wasn't them coming back, but you coming home to yourself? You didn't lose them. You found your peace. You found your purpose. You found your place in God's timing. Let them go without guilt, without shame. Because when God removes, He replaces with greater. And when He restores, it's always pressed down, shaken together, and running over.
This isn't rejection.
It's redirection. This isn't loss. It's launch. You were never walking away from love. You were walking back into alignment. If this whispered truth found your ache, if you feel God gently confirming what your soul already knew, type 797 in the comments. Let heaven know I'm ready for greater. Like the video, share it with someone who's mourning what was, and help them find peace in what will be. Subscribe for more whispered truth, prophetic clarity, and soul-deep guidance, because you're not just healing, you're awakening. You didn't let go because you were weak. You let go because you were chosen.